it brings immense stress into a relationship. But that one commitment I would suggest to anybody: your marriage is more important than having a child, because many marriages bust up as a result of trying to seek a child.
Right. Well, that's great advice. It's, and I think we know from Scripture, of course, any challenge both reveals faith and it tests it at the very same time. And certainly the character of your marriage was both tested and it was revealed in the midst of those very difficult moral decisions and economic decisions and lifestyle decisions and all of that. And of course, you recount in your book that eventually you and Merryn together made the very difficult decision to stop having a child. What went into that? What was that like for you, that moment of finally saying, no, we've been through enough and we need to start a new chapter?
That was a very difficult decision to make, because there is always that what if question. What if we just try another round of IVF? What if we draw a line, what's going to happen? Could the child have just been the next day away? And that's where our life was, Brad, for a good 10 years. So during that 10 years, we tried the IVF numerous times. We did try adoption. In fact, we waited for 2 whole years on the Australian local adoption list. We tried special diets. We had numerous rounds of special healing prayer held for us, which was wonderful. But at the end of the day, we still didn't have a child at the end. And I guess the real turning point came for us when, towards the end of 2010, we had decided to try just a couple of more rounds of IVF and then call it a day. And on the very last round, we had 1 embryo left to transfer. And it was just a few days before Christmas, and we had a phone call from the IVF clinic. And the girl at the other end, her name was Emily, she said, it's looking good. It's all looking good. All the hormone levels are right where we would expect it to be for a pregnancy. And you can imagine the jubilation in our households, the Voysey household, the Cook household, our family, our friends, thinking that after 10 years, our prayers had been answered. And so we went and spent Christmas with our family up in Brisbane. And then we got a second phone call on Christmas Eve 2010, again from Emily. And Emily said, I'm so sorry. It had been a false call. There had never been a baby. It had actually been the result of the drugs doing strange things to Merryn's body. And with that, Merryn put down the phone, walked into our bedroom, and curled up in a fetal position. And with that, we packed up our bags, jumped into our car, and drove home to try and find some solace. And that's when we decided, okay, this is it. That's it. Let's try and start again without a child.
Yeah. Well, I think you discovered that itself as a gift of God, the gift of just saying, no more. And relief, and to start asking what's next. So where did the idea of a resurrection year come from? What risks were involved in making this kind of radical and intentional effort to both deal with God and also deal with one another and to create a new life for yourselves?
I would love to say, Brad, that it was my idea. I'd love to say that the resurrection year concept was mine. No, towards the end of 2010, around about that time, just maybe a month or so before that fateful phone call on Christmas Eve, I was interviewing the British author and humorist Adrian Plass, and we'd gotten to know each other over the years because I'd interviewed him a number of times on my various radio shows, and Adrian asked me how I was, and we were right at the crescendo of this 10-year journey to try and start a family, and I just shared with him where I was at. And after listening very closely, he said to me, in the Christian life, new life follows the death of something, just like Jesus' resurrection followed his crucifixion. Wouldn't it be wonderful if next year, and he was talking about 2011, wouldn't it be wonderful if next year was a resurrection year for you and Merryn? And there was just something about that phrase, and I took it back to Merryn, and I said, Adrian has mentioned this thing about having a resurrection year. And she burst into tears, but there were tears of joy. She said, that's exactly what I need. Now, there's no book about this. Adrian hadn't come up with some sort of idea about a resurrection year. It's just a nice phrase he used in the context of a conversation. But out of that came this idea. We will have a year of starting again. A resurrection year is just a year of starting again after something in your life has died, particularly a long-held broken dream.